my depression is brought on by anxiety a lot. And then the depression is just the exhaustion afterwards, after all of that mental battle. And it's not a relief. It's it's like it's like all of the energy has been squeezed out of me, and I end up literally laying on the ground because sometimes I just want to be as low as I feel.
I've had depression on and off since like puberty. I would say once or twice a year, and whether it was like like a obvious reason or sometimes it was just totally unknown to me, like super uninvited. And so, yeah, and I've still had it. And then after I had my baby, I had postpartum and depression. And I think the intense hormone changes made it way more intense than it had ever been.
Genetically, I have a genetic mutation that makes it so that I don't make enough serotonin. And so there's a biological explanation for it, but I think that was set into motion by trauma. I had a lot of miscarriages, and then I got pregnant with my son, and they told me that he had an amniotic band and that he was already missing his left hand, and that it could wrap around his neck at any point and he could die. And it's like something in me I just like kind of lost it and got like I just got obsessed with worrying about him, and because I wanted him so badly. And that's when it really started getting kind of bad. But then when my grandma died while I was pregnant with him, that was it. I've never been the same after that.
Sometimes I feel guilty that maybe I'm being too busy and not paying attention to her, looking at her, talking to her, if I'm just like doing my own thing and we're rushing around town, and sometimes I'll feel bad about that.
So I have chronic depression, and so that's been an interesting experience within my family and my close circle of friends too. And it's different because you talk to people about it and they kind of go, well, I've been depressed before, or I've felt, everyone has their ups and downs, or, well, I feel sad sometimes too. And I'm like, yeah, but like for a decade straight, have you done that? It's scary. Or to feel something so intensely negative usually and not know why you feel that.
I'm myself am dysthymic, like a whole lot of people on my dad's side of the family, which is dysthymia is a low-level depression that they sometimes call it the common cold of depression, because it does never really kill you. It just kind of keeps you from being as happy as you might be, and it's sometimes called the Eeyore of depression, because you become that person that you get up in the morning and you say things like, Christopher Robin says, "Good day," and you say, "If it is a good day," which I doubt.
Whenever I go to a depressive state after all of that anxiety and that negative self-talk, then it's like a validation of all of those negative things. Like, oh, you really are worthless. Look at you. You're laying on the ground. Oh, you really do have no self-control. Look at you. You can't even pick yourself up. You really are lazy. You really are. There really is something inherently wrong with you, because look at you. Nobody else is laying on the ground like that. I mean, seriously, you're an adult.
So my main fear is dying and leaving my kids. I wanted kids my whole life, and I had a really hard time having them, and I didn't have an easy childhood either, which I'm sure played into it, but my main fear is death, and I can't seem to get past that, I want to live in the moment, but I still find myself obsessively worrying and wasting my time.
I've been in law enforcement for 28 years. I've watched people do it right in front of us, like out where we're trying to talk them out of, putting the gun down. And we think we're making progress, and all of a sudden they put the gun to their head and pull the trigger. It's a helpless feeling.
I'll admit it, I have tried to cut myself and tried to commit suicide, and I was cowardly because I felt like I couldn't pull through. And that's that point that people question, is whether they do it or not.
It's even like scary to just say that. And I haven't really told anybody. Like, I told my husband, well, I actually didn't even tell him. I was like, I need to see a therapist, like, soon, and he gets really good health care through his work. So I was able to get in, like, within a few days, and I told her everything. And she said I really needed to tell my husband the suicidal kind of things I was, like, going through. And so I did tell him, and didn't really tell anyone. Still haven't really told anybody. It was enough for me to get it out to those two. And that was really helpful. And just like, okay, now if I ever have these feelings again, it'll just be easy to tell my husband or somebody, because that first time's like pretty scary.
In that position of thinking like, I'm cowardly for not killing myself. That's where people have that wrong perception, that suicide is a selfish act. It is the opposite. It's a selfless act. It's the fact that they hate themselves so much that they want to get rid of themselves to not hurt anyone else. And not recognizing that is the biggest problem. Because they're begging for help. And they're telling people, hey, I'm doing this. I'm threatening you. And in your sense, like, if someone's telling you and threatening you that they're going to kill themselves, don't think of it as like an attack and a personal attack. It's not on you. It's them crying for help. And when they do it, there's no reversal. There's no healing. There's no helping. They're gone. Dead. Forever. Black. Blank.
I have had bad enough times that I decided to change the life I was living to one that was more meaningful to me. And I'm still working on it, but I feel like I have a lot of love around me, and I try really hard to lead a meaningful life, something that's meaningful to me.
I think my spirituality is the most important things that has really helped me process through my depression and anxiety. Being able to channel my spirituality really helped me become introspective.
I want to be happy. I think most days I feel like I'm happy. You know what I mean? I want to be. I think that's what matters most. And whether it's you find joy in your work, or you find joy in what you do after work, or you find joy in your family, I think that should be what you focus on. If you feel happy, most everything else is pretty easy to get through. And, not every day is going to go your way,
You should live every day like there is no tomorrow. I have a son with a terminal illness, and he's taught me that you live every day like tomorrow is not a guarantee.
What meaning I find in life. For me, it's connection. It's connecting to other people and authenticity, and finding a way to reach out across all the weird ways we keep each other separate from each other. Politics, religion, all the things that create artificial barriers, and reaching across those barriers and seeing each other's humanity. That, for me, is where I find meaning in my life.
I think the biggest thing is to say the things that you feel that you hold back when it comes to the people that you care about and that you love, to get as many of those messages out to the people that matter most as quickly as possible.
It actually helps me to cry. And then it's just kind of, then I'm uplifted a little bit when I cry, because I'm acknowledging my sadness and my grief. I'm not trying to resist it or push it away. I'm acknowledging it and saying, okay, you're here, I'm sad, that's okay. Now I'll cry a little bit and then I'll move on.
I think that's like a huge part of how I cope with my anxiety is through humor, definitely. Like, just even making fun of myself. Not making fun of myself, you know, but I find humor in it because it helps me cope. And it is kind of funny. I mean, I realize I'm crazy in a lot of ways.
I was looking in the mirror today, and I tend to have a low-level self-hatred going on, as most people do, I assume. And I was like, hey, I think I'm okay. You know, it's like the sun ray through the clouds every now and again when you have that moment.